Scotland have a brand new leader with 4 goals over the international break. Scott McSauce sends Scotland to dreamland over Spain. Elsewhere, England win in Naples, Denmark lose to the Kazakhs, and the Sue merchant continues to step back. This is the return of the False 90s podcast. And with me today we have Lewis.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm alright, how are you?
How drunk are you after yesterday? 2-0 win for Scotland over Spain. Who thought that would happen?
I'm surprisingly alright. The sad thing is I was in uni very early on Tuesday morning, so I fell asleep and then woke up and seen that Scott McSauce had scored 2. So I don't know what's happened that has made Scott McTominay prime Pirlo at this point, but it's an interesting one. Yeah,
2 goals against Cyprus and obviously 2 goals here. Both of them probably well-worked goals as well. Especially that second one where Tierney makes that run across that left-hand side, beats Danny Carvajal, gets that cross in, and then the ball is cleared away, and then McTominay just hits it on the volley first time. Flies into the back corner. I mean, Hampden was shaking.
Hampden was shaking indeed. And I don't know, have you seen the reaction on Spanish Twitter though?
I haven't seen the reaction on Spanish Twitter. I've seen some of the headlines today, which is funny, and also the quote from Rodri.
The quote from Rodri is quite good, but the funnier one, I got sent one last night at Spanish Twitter, Carvajal the full 90 minutes is just a fat guy scratching his ass on the park. It's so good. But I think this was coming for a while from a Spanish perspective. The Spanish team, for me, I kind of laughed off a lot of the Scottish commentators and a lot of the Scottish pundits on Saturday after Cyprus who said, we could give Spain a game because it's not the same Spain as 10 years ago with Iniesta and Xavi. And they were like, but they have Pedri and Gavi,
but they didn't start, so
Lewis
De La Fuente made 8 changes after Spain's 3-0 win over Norway. So the Spanish team: Kepa, Gaia, Inigo Martinez, Eric Garcia, Pedro Porro, Mikel Merino, Rodri, Oyarzabal, Dani Ceballos, Yeremy Pino, and Joselu. And I think I made a joke on Twitter before the game, is that Joselu versus Grant Hanley is not a matchup I'd see in an international game in 2023. I thought I'd see it in a League One playoff game in 2023. But Grant Hanley was actually the better player, despite Joselu's... he scored quite a few goals this season for Espanyol.
I think the biggest problem that Spain honestly had, looking at the lineup and looking back on it, is they really underestimated Scotland. It really felt like we can play the second team because it's only Scotland. I mean, surely people know that Kepa is the Spanish domestic goalkeeping terrorist. There's no way that...
Yeah,
there's no way you should play Kepa in that scenario. He should have played Unai Simon, it's...
So Unai Simon's injured at the moment, but their keepers that they called up were Kepa, Robert Sanchez, who's at Brighton, and David Raya, who's at Brentford. There is a problem with Spanish keepers. They haven't fully replaced De
Gea.
De Gea is still there. I don't understand why they haven't called him up. He's having a good season, but they haven't fully replaced Casillas. Really, I mean, they're kind of debated between De Gea or Kepa or Unai Simon or whoever else they've put in. It just it doesn't really make any sense. I would say
I was surprised. Obviously, I didn't realise he was injured at the time for the call up, but Unai Simon should have been in. Unai Simon was the main goalkeeper for them at the World Cup
and
as well.
The Euros as well, yeah.
And at the Euros, so I can understand that he's injured, so we can't play him. But I think it just shows that Spain have a tendency that there's no backup in the Spain team. When you consider the quality of players that they've got. So I can't believe I'm about to say this, but Morata, it's Morata or Joselu when you can bring in. You can have Ansu Fati as well. I mean, he's not really striker, but he's still an attacking player.
The other players they had, strikers they called up, Nico Williams, Iago Aspas, Borja Iglesias.
Iago Aspas.
He's 35.
I know he's 35, but he's still a better player than Joselu, But I think it just shows that Spain, when one player goes from that Spain team, there's no bounce back, at all for Spain.
I think you go back as well. You said that Spain underestimated Scotland. Are the pot two side in this group. They're not they're literally the second best side in this group. And yes, you have got Norway, who have Haaland, who was injured. So why not play the weekend team against Norway and take Scotland more seriously, especially when it's an away game at Hampden, where you're obviously going to be up against it.
I think what they don't realise is that Scotland do have compromises if one player goes out. If we don't play Lyndon Dykes, we play Che Adams. If we don't play Armstrong, we can play Christie. Things like that. There's always the majority of that side, with the exception of a couple, are Premier League quality players or Championship quality. In the case of Lyndon Dykes.
But that's practically the level of what top tier international football is. It's not going to be as good as top tier club football, but you need your solid players. You need your solid depth more than anything else.
And Spain at the moment just don't have that depth. There's not a lot of teams, I don't think, going into this Euros that have a good squad depth. I think it really just shows how football's going, that Spain as a team don't cover the whole park, and that really the maestros, if you like, of the Spanish team are in its midfield.
Yeah.
Marcos Llorente, Gavi, Pedri, to name a couple, in a similar way that a lot of France's strength comes in its attack, with Mbappe, Kingsley Coman, Griezmann to an extent, Kolo Muani, people like that, or in a way that England have an abundance of right backs, so it doesn't matter what one they choose, they can just play roulette. And I think it's where Scotland benefit. It's that everyone's on a level playing field, so there's no world class player really in the Scotland team.
But you've got a lot of players who are on the same level that are, good enough and can put up a fight when they're moulded into a team like Clark put together.
Like what Clark puts together, and I think it shows that everyone's kind of on a reasonably level playing field for Scotland. Obviously, you could argue Andy Robertson's a world-class left-back, but it's not 2020 anymore. Liverpool's having a poor season, and I think that, personally, I think Andy Robertson's dropped off a little bit since he had that Premier League title winning season, but then so's most of Liverpool, so I don't want to jump in on that too much.
But you have Kieran Tierney, who had a fantastic performance last night, hasn't played pretty much at all for Arsenal this season because they've had Zinchenko there. So
yeah, Tierney's been kind of frozen out of that squad. Aaron Hickey's another one as well. He hasn't played much for Brentford.
Well, Brentford, because Rico Henry's playing now instead. But
I think though, if I had to pick someone in the Scotland team that's really stood out for me over the two games in the international break, it is Angus Gunn.
Yeah,
I was pleasantly surprised with it.
And there was a lot of kind of pushback when he was announced, okay, I'm going to represent Scotland now, because of just certain things, the fact that he is English after all, but he's got that Scottish link.
It was the same with Che Adams though when he came up to Scotland, and the thing with Che Adams is, he's not the best player, but he has scored a couple of times for Scotland, and realistically at this present moment in time for a Scotland side, Angus Gunn probably is the best keeper of choice. Gordon's still injured. And
he's also, 37, 38?
38, I think.
Marshall's retired from international.
David Marshall's retired. McGregor's retired.
And then you've got, Sandon Clark and Liam Kelly?
Yeah.
The other kind of...
And I don't want to say it from, a Motherwell perspective. As much as Liam Kelly's a good goalkeeper, it's not been a good season for Motherwell as a whole, but even for Liam Kelly's standards, he has dropped off form slightly. I'm now going to have torches thrown at my door for saying that, but he really has hasn't been the same player he was under Alexander, how he was under Hamill. I'm hoping it improves now under Kettlewell.
Yeah.
But the standard of goalkeeping went down, and there was a lot of Motherwell players kind of being like, what's the point in calling Liam Kelly up for international duty? And it's like, he's in the hope that he's going to get the cap, but I don't think the cap's ever going to come.
Especially now you have Angus Gunn there, yeah.
Unless Angus Gunn gets injured, that's the only way I could see him playing, because I think he probably is better than Xander Clark.
Yeah.
But then,
Xander Clark's only getting minutes now for Hearts because Gordon's injured. So whether he'll, stay first choice when Gordon comes back or not, different question.
And then you've also got, when Craig Gordon does come back to fitness, the chances are he will get called up again. But there's players, I think, also that get omitted from that Scotland squad that deserve to be in it quite a lot of the time. There's so many other players we could take with us. The likes of Turnbull as well. Turnbull didn't play much. And he has, it doesn't really matter about the midfield now because we have Scott McTominay. But
and also, adding to that midfield, Callum McGregor had a good international break. John McGinn as well, rising up to 7th in the all-time Scotland goal scorers.
I think that's, I criticise Spain for being quite stacked in the midfield. So are we really when you think about it. McGinn, McTominay, Calmac, Turnbull, Ryan Jack as well. There's so many players there, but the difference is that every single one of those players, even with a fallback, is at a big club or playing like a decent level of football.
Yeah.
Ryan Jack, Rangers, Turnbull, Celtic, Calmac, Celtic, McTominay's at Man U. Yeah. You can bring... There's so much level playing field in that squad, and I think it also just shows that the managers are different as well. There's a massive experience gap. The Spain manager just now is his first gig.
So he hasn't had a La Liga job ever before. He was the old under 21 manager, but he haven't had a top level job before. And
it worked in a way for England. Obviously Southgate had managed like Middlesbrough and stuff before he took the England job.
Yeah.
But he was the young team manager before it.
Manager, yeah.
But at least he had a bit of experience behind him before he took the England job. Whereas when you look at Steve Clarke, Kilmarnock, and then into Scotland, but done so well at Kilmarnock, he really is a development manager. Yeah. And you can kind of see that from 2019 onwards, that pre-COVID stage where we were still under McLeish and it was kind of crap.
Losing 3-0 to Kazakhstan.
I forgot about that. And then when you come to 2020 where we get Steve Clarke in and
we go to the Euros.
We go to the Euros. And okay, the Euros weren't the best performances that Scotland had. Obviously, it was the 0-0 with England, which was fantastic.
And obviously, levelling up against Croatia as well in that final game.
We did score in that game as well. But I think what we're now seeing is it's the fruits of the labour are kind of starting to come out from a Steve Clarke development project, really, and
that's why he's got that new contract until 2026, because this is a long-term project. Getting to the next Euros would be fantastic, and then hopefully finish past the World Cup.
I honestly don't think at this point anything can stop us getting to the Euros now. I think if we can take Spain on at Hampden, we can probably take them on in Spain as well.
Yeah.
Spain, as far as I feel right now, obviously with Holland being injured, are the only threat in this group. Norway could be, but it depends on where Holland comes back.
Georgia, as I think Norway saw earlier on, they drew 1-1 with Georgia. Georgia is a potential banana skin, but then again,
anyone for Scotland can be a banana skin sometimes. But realistically, and I touched on this a couple podcasts ago, that every country now has one good player. And it's the same in our group right now. So for Spain, I would say it's Pedri. For Scotland, I would have said McGinn at the time, but now I'm going to say Scott McTominay. Norway have Holland. Georgia have Maradona.
Don't know who Cyprus have.
Alex Gogic or something. I don't know. But yeah, every country has like at least a string of decent players, apart from Cyprus, who only have Alex Gogic. But we've really blown this wide open, haven't we?
Yeah, Scotland's at top of the group, 6 points. Spain with 3, and then other than that, it's a bit wide open. You have Norway on point, Georgia with a point, and Cyprus on no point. So
our next games in this campaign are going to be Norway and Georgia.
Yeah, so it's Norway away, which could be tricky, and then Georgia at home.
Georgia at home, I think will be fine, but yeah, Norway away could be a banana skin, but it just depends on whether Holland's back as well. But it's not a one-man team, there is threats, I suppose, in that Norway team as well. Ødegaard as well, Martin Ødegaard. That's all I can think of right now, really.
Celtic. El
Yunusi as well, yeah. I think Kasper Sørloth still plays for them as well, up front. But obviously...
Alexander Sørloth as well, I guess. So, but good result for Scotland.
I don't know why I said Kasper. I think I'm thinking of Kasper Dolberg or something. Getting my Scandinavian strikers mixed up there. But that could be the banana skin, but we'll get on and talk about the other ones, I suppose.
Yeah, so moving on from discussions about Haaland to Rasmus Højlund, who scored 3 goals against Finland in a 3-1 win, and scored 2 goals to put Denmark 2-0 up at half-time against Kazakhstan. And then Kazakhstan came back to win 3-2.
Borat must be having a fucking field day, mate, honestly. That must be great. He must be sitting there in his little hut somewhere in rural Kazakhstan, be like, great success. But no, that was a shock, wasn't it? That was a big shock.
Yeah, so they came back. The first goal was from a penalty, which was from a bit of a iffy handball decision. But I'm not going to complain. Have you seen Teggy Bergen's equaliser?
I've seen it.
With the belt from about 30 yards out. Beautiful.
The whole game was just... I don't know. I think that just kind of shows the magic of the international break. You would never have expected Kazakhstan to beat Denmark. You maybe would have put money on Finland doing it when you've got the likes of Timo Pukki, Hradecki in goal, Glenn Kamara in the midfield, It's a good team, but I don't think I would have ever said Kazakhstan. I mean, name me one Kazakhstani footballer. It's not an easy... Kazakhstan's not a footballing nation, really. I think they're more polo and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's also great, throwing that group wide open as well, because you have Slovenia top with 6 points, and then you have Denmark, Kazakhstan, Finland, and Northern Ireland all on 3 points. And Kazakhstan's next game is against San Marino, so there could be 2 wins on the bounce for them.
Got the TikTok in my head now that it's just the San Marino national team. For any of the audience that don't know, just put up a TikTok of every single loss that they've had since 2018, and it's just that kid going "Dream on, dream on." But it's the one where it's he's trying to do the scream, just ah. But that's it has blown that group wide open as well. I can't predict that one. That's a really difficult one. I mean. So we're a Scottish-based podcast, so we'll ramble on about Scotland for ages. But yeah, it was just such a weird one. Fair play to Kazakhstan.
I mean, that would have been the story of the international break before
had Spain
Scotland
not lost to Scotland. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
and I think time will tell. I think that Denmark team's really underperforming. A lot of people backed that Denmark team to go so much further in the World Cup than they did as well. Yeah,
because they went out in the groups, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then I had money on getting to the final, and they didn't. I mean, their last win. I mean, obviously they beat Finland, but before that they hadn't won since September. The 2-0 win of France in the Nations League.
I don't want to talk about that one. But I think so many people had backed that Denmark team to get kind of have a bounce back because they had such a resurgent period at the Euros after obviously the Eriksen incident, which was a tragic event that really pulled that team back together. But where do they go from here? It just feels like the team's so flat. I don't know if this is a consequence of trying to sport wash by making a political statement with your kit, but I just
yeah.
don't see a way out of this for Denmark. And it's a shame because I think Denmark have got some really talented players in that squad. Kasper Schmeichel, Kjær, the
Mela, yeah.
guy at
And obviously
Atalanta.
Højlund as well, who scored 5 goals.
Højlund, Dolberg, Christensen. There's so many talented players in that Like, you could probably rattle off half of Denmark's squad just by thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I mean, I think we forgot Christian Eriksen as well.
Exactly, yeah.
So there's so much talent in that squad, but it just feels like wasted talent now. I don't know if a managerial change is needed, but something I think needs to change at Denmark if they're going to have a hope of touching the Euros, I suppose.
Yeah, they have Northern Ireland and Slovenia the next international break in June, which you would expect them to get 6 points from that, but whether they do or not is a different question.
I think Northern Ireland could be the banana skin.
Yeah, I mean they've got their old manager back. They've got
Ian Barclough.
No. Hang on a minute. They've got Michael O'Neill back.
Michael O'Neill. Oh no, they sacked Barclough.
Yeah,
Forgot about that.
Michael O'Neill, who led them to Euro 2016, then he's back in the team, and I think they've got a couple of young players coming through who could be quite impressive. So that could be a banana skin. Obviously, Northern Ireland, they beat San Marino 2-0, lost 1-0 to Finland, but that's.
The Finland game was away though, wasn't it?
That was at home.
At
It was
home.
at Winter Park. So.
So it was the San Marino game was away.
San Marino was away. Yeah.
Yeah. Losing 1-0. It is a difficult one. If you want, I think the only confirmed team right now for the Euros is, to be honest, is Germany.
It's Germany because they're hosting it. We're 2 games into qualification, aren't we? So you can't really tell anything yet. But
you can't tell too much. But I'm confident for Scotland. I'm not confident for Denmark at this point. But who I am confident for is the Sue Merchant, who just stat padded against Luxembourg. That was absolutely fucking filthy.
So he scored 2 goals against Luxembourg, 2 goals against Liechtenstein. Portugal have 10 goals this international break with a 4-0 win over Liechtenstein and a 6-0 win over Luxembourg. But the funny thing is, for that first game against Liechtenstein, Cancelo scored the opener within 8 minutes. Ronaldo obviously tried to claim that. He scored 2 later on. But he's now on to 122 international goals, which is insane. There's 198th international appearance, which is a record in men's international football. So what does he do now? He literally just turned. He's gone off to Saudi Arabia. Yes, he's doing it to kind of. I don't know what he's doing it for, but he's kicked out of Manchester United. But he's now playing in Saudi Arabia. Still, he's going to get called up for Portugal no matter what happens. He could be playing in the San Marinese 3rd division. He'd still get called up for Portugal. What's the point of Ronaldo now?
It really is just stat padding. I think it is at this point. I think he wants to have the all-time international scoring record.
He's already got it,
which he already has. He just want to get as far ahead as possible because I think he probably knows that Mbappe is going to catch it at some point. And
Lionel Messi's only 20 goals behind as well. He scored 4 goals this international break as well.
Yeah. So he's really just trying to fire himself as far ahead as well. And I think he wants just the all-time goal record, in a career.
Yeah. Which is held by Josef Bican, I think, at the moment.
I think so. Which is probably why he's went out to Saudi Arabia. Let's be real. It's easy for you to go out to a league that's not very competitive and just stat pad against, Al Ittihad or something like that, or Al Shabaab, I think, is another one.
Yeah, Al Ittihad. He didn't actually score against it. He lost 1-0. He scored 3 goals against Damak FC. Scored 4 goals against Al Reda. Scored against Al Feta as well. He just wants to get the all-time goal scoring record. He is undoubtedly one of the best players who's ever played. One of the best goal scorers. But going about it like this, to kind of go out of his way to get to a league that's probably he's much too good for, just so he can get loads of goals.
So if we're talking about Josip Bican has got 518 goals. But Pele holds the league record.
Oh, Pele's on the
Yeah,
right,
Pele is the record. 604 in a league. Now, Ronaldo is obviously like so far up now as well. Ronaldo has 832 goals in his entire career to Messi's 803. So he's 29 goals ahead of Messi, and the chances are that Ronaldo will always have that record. And the gap between Messi and then third, fourth, and fifth is just ridiculous. Like, I mean, third, fourth, and fifth in this, when you look at the names, you would think it's going to be so many more goals.
Yeah.
Because it's Pele, Romario, and Ferenc Puskás. But I think it just shows that. I mean, Messi's kind of the same now as well. Messi will probably not stick around at PSG much longer. He will probably go to the MLS or somewhere, or maybe
MLS or back to Argentina.
To Argentina, and it's probably for the same reason, just to stat pad, which is what most icons of the game have done it at some point. I mean, Pele done it. Pele went to New York Cosmos.
Ibrahimovic went to LA Galaxy.
Yeah, stat pads. It's just a stat pad.
It's just to kind of, get
just to try and wrap up the career.
Wrap up the career with
Thierry Henry done it as well with New York Red Bulls. So
yeah, take the paycheck, get loads of goals, see out the career in a league that you're probably way too good for.
It's the same, and I mean, but I think is Ronaldo not also getting paid by the Saudi government to endorse their World Cup bid?
World Cup in 2030, yeah, and that's a whole different thing. I mean, that World Cup bid is insane with Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Greece.
I mean, I think they just get more batshit every year, don't they? Like the World Cup ideas. I think everyone's looking at this 2026 model of this like tri-nation tournament with the USA, Canada, and Mexico, and thinking, oh, we could do that. But when you look at the options that are being thrown in, they're just absolutely ridiculous. Like, you've got Spain, Portugal, Morocco. That one kind of makes sense.
But also with Ukraine as well.
And they wanted to throw Ukraine into it. But I can kind of get the Spain, Portugal, Morocco bit.
Yeah.
Like, they are very close to each other. You can see Spain from Morocco and vice versa. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Greece, I don't understand that.
It is, I think it's just some kind of like... Again, it's probably not the sports watching thing the same way Qatar was, but in another way to kind of boost Saudi Arabia instead. And then the other one, which is Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay and Chile, I think it is.
I can kind of get on board with that
especially for the Centenary World Cup, where obviously Uruguay hosted the first one in 1930. Trying to get the final at the same place in 2030 makes sense.
Or, I mean, I'm going to pitch it. In fact, no, it wouldn't happen. I was going to say a World Cup final at the Bombonera, but that's not going to happen. They would use the Monumental.
Yeah, or obviously I think what they're going to do.
The Monumental is the national stadium in Argentina at this point, which I'm sure Boca fans must love having to go there, but. Yeah. Or they can use the national stadium in Chile because it's huge.
It's huge, yeah.
But at this point, there might as well just be a bid from China, Iran, and North Korea. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
Like, I mean, to be fair, North Korea's defence, that would be some World Cup final. That is like the biggest spectator stadium in the world.
It's 120,000, isn't it?
125, I think. 250,000, I think, can get in that stadium. And the worst of it is, it's one football team that plays in it, and they don't sell it out. It's May 25 FC.
Yeah.
That's the only team that plays in that stadium.
Obviously, I don't... We've got into a podcast about North Korean football here, but, they play in the Asian Champions League, don't get very far, and then, what do they do after that? Makes no sense.
I think the stadium's mainly used for the gymnastic display thing that they do.
Yeah.
The big, opening ceremony style thing that they do. But...
It'd be a great World Cup opening ceremony, I'll give you that, but no media, which...
Finish it off with a test launch, just to really spice things up. How would you like to finish this one? By destroying the three nations that hosted the last World Cup. But then, I mean, we're rambling on here a bit, but it's it is. It's just so many batshit crazy World Cup things, and you know that if Ronaldo scores any more goals for Saudi Arabia, they will have to rename the country to Saudi Arabia. Like it is, it is coming at this point. In the same way that Portugal will probably call their currency the Suro. You know, it's just ridiculous. I think what made me kind of giggle a bit was that in that Luxembourg game, it wasn't just the Portuguese fans that were celebrating with him, it was the Luxembourg fans as well. You could just hear an entire stadium just go, Soo! Like, it was so painful. But I think that's just the stardom of Ronaldo at this point.
It was also the 11th goal he scored against Luxembourg in his career. Like, he scored the most international goals against Luxembourg and Liechtenstein and teams like that. Admittedly, Messi is the same, and I think the debate also happened when Kane got the England all-time record as well. Like, oh, he always scores against small countries. You've got to score against these small countries, haven't you? Like, they complain that you're not scoring against the small countries.
That's where you've got to make up your goals. So, like, Ronaldo's making his goals up against Liechtenstein, San Marino, Luxembourg, Andorra, Gibraltar, things like that. Messi's doing it against Curacao, as he done at the weekend. You've got, but you've got other small nations there, French Guinea and Paraguay and like all those little, like Honduras and Bolivia and stuff. Like, as much as we say South America's a continental footballing powerhouse, there is still some really shit sides in it, like internationally. But I think it is just pure stat padding. To totally put it all together, pure stat padding. He knows he's going to go out there, win a couple of Saudi Pro League titles, maybe an AFC Champions League, like maybe,
possibly, but also get a shit ton of money from the Saudi
government for endorsing it, and a shit ton of money from Al Nasser,
who are owned by the same kind of Saudi investment fund as Newcastle are.
Yeah. Have you seen that contract clause?
I'm not sure if it's real or not, but apparently he can go out on loan to Newcastle if they qualify for the Champions League. But
I mean, it would be fucking batshit, wouldn't it?
It would be mental.
You imagine? I mean,
I can't imagine Cristiano Ronaldo in Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean,
just walking around fucking the
Tyne Weir Bridge.
Having
a wee jog across the Tyne Weir Bridge. They've just lost 5-0 to Brentford, so he's in the pub getting like drunk on brown ale, kind of like staggering about and be like, "We're not the same club we used to be." I mean, that would probably just be a publicity move if that ever happened for Newcastle as well. I know Ronaldo wants another Champions League, but Newcastle ain't going to win a Champions League. It's just so he can...
Anytime soon, at least.
Probably give it another 5-10 years, I would say.
Years, yeah. Especially with now the new mental Champions League format, which, again, is crazy, but...
Have you seen the new penalty idea?
No.
Oh, God. Mike Maignan, the French goalie, tweeted about this. They're going to have to stand with their back to the penalty.
Oh, no, I think that was a joke he made after this whole, like, oh, yeah, you can no longer, like, shithouse if you're a goalkeeper in penalties, but attackers can still do these, like, staggered run-ups and whatever. You can't, like, intimidate the taker anymore, which will kind of... Mind games are a part of football, especially in a penalty shootout as well. You need that to get to your advantage.
At this point, if it's in a regular game, I think what he was trying to argue on top of the stand with my back to goal thing, I mean, I think it was taken literally by a lot of people, is that you might as well just not have a goalie in a goal then at that point for a penalty. If it's in regulation time, just let them do it. Personally, if you're asking me, I want MLS penalties. I think that makes so much more sense. And I know they've taken that from like the ice hockey concept where you start from the halfway line, go down and have a shot, but it works so much better.
And it's a proper like test of skill rather than, it's more like a test of nerves in a penalty shootout.
That's it.
Yeah. Talking of nerves, France had a great start to the international break with a 4-0 win over Netherlands, and then a tight 1-0 win over Ireland, where Mike Maignan made a fantastic save at the end.
Again, I think it just shows France as a whole as well. France have this tendency to turn the Stade de France in Paris into an absolute fortress and then go away from home and absolutely fuck it. This is the second best team in the world if we're going by
the World Cup.
The World Cup. This is the second best team in the world. This is a team with the best young player in the world, I would say. Sorry to all the Man City fans who are tossing off in the corner over Holland, but it's true.
Kylian Mbappe, yeah.
Mbappe is far better. Backed up by a very promising striker in Kolo Muani, backed up by Griezmann, who has turned himself into prime Scholes at this point. It's just ridiculous.
And also, you've got Olivier Giroud there, you have Marcus Thuram, you have all these players, and Cuckoo's still injured, but
he comes in, he's good as well, and even at the back, it's Theo Hernandez, Luca Hernandez, Kimpembe sometimes, Saliba,
Upamecano,
Konate, Pavard, Koundé, Maignan, Samba, who I was quite happy got the wee call up. Didn't start, but got the call up. And at this point, it just feels like I cannot see France winning anything else under Deschamps.
Okay.
Now, I don't think that Deschamps is a bad manager. Didier Deschamps is probably one of the best managers France have had in recent memory. He has took them to two championship finals, two World Cup finals and a European Championship final. But you just can't ignore that there just seems to be a point for France where the wheels totally fall off, as we witnessed at Euro 2020 with Switzerland. And I think at this point, Deschamps for me is like Wenger Arsenal. It's consistent.
He's done,
and he's done fantastic, but it's time to go.
I'm going to go right up to the mic there and do it. Yeah.
Well, I was going to do the whole Claude thing.
Yeah.
We're not the same team we used to be, blood. Stuff like that. But no, I just feel that managerial changes may be needed if France want to progress even further. There's no reason that France can't progress further. But the issue you have is, who do France take as a manager over Deschamps?
And also as well, when do you let him go as well? Because he's top of the qualification group. He's done so much, you can't really sack him from that. Do you just kind of wait until he sees out his contract, or?
I think for the French Football Federation, I think at this point it is a case of you need to let him run his contract down, because there's no other way that he will leave. Because of the fact he has won a World Cup, both as a player and a manager, and is pretty much a legend of the French game. And obviously, he was still a good manager at club level as well. But you can't distract from the fact that, in my opinion anyway, things do need to change for the France team. If you want to take the advice of the French public at the moment, we could just set fire to the Stade de France and that would get rid of Deschamps. But I think you're right. I think you're going to have to either wait for him to run his contract down. You cannot sack him after a 6-0 loss to San Marino, something like that. That would just probably be seen as a blip by the French FA.
Well, same as Euro 2020 was.
Seen as a blip. And obviously, I think there's a lot of French people that think, we lost the World Cup, so maybe now's the time. But they lost a World Cup on penalties that, realistically, that World Cup no one could feel bad about.
Because I don't think France were expected to get that far, surely.
I don't think they did. I think everyone thought Brazil-Argentina was what would happen. And then obviously Croatia done a madness.
Yeah.
And for me, France in that final, there was two outcomes to that final, and no one could get angry at either one.
Yeah.
It was either Messi wins his first World Cup, or Mbappe becomes the youngest player to win 2 World Cups.
Yeah.
So he would have, beaten Pele. But yeah, I just think there's no other way they can go. But there's no one there who can really replace him. Ancelotti's going to Brazil. Apparently. The only man I think that could take over at France is Zinedine Zidane. Would be my personal pick. Or if you wanted to do something completely batshit, like Jose Mourinho.
Or, and I think this will lead into the next topic, what about Christophe Gaultier?
No.
Okay,
no, because this will lead lovely into the next topic. And I'm really hoping that at this point there's some like little French accordion music going over like the top of me. But
that sounds like too much editing to me.
But this is Lewis's French corner. We're gonna talk about Ligue 1 or Ligue 1 at the present moment in France. I will not discredit Le Beau Jeu, which is the official podcast of Ligue 1. Go and check that one out as well for like the full comprehensive highlights of Ligue 1. But the thing I want to highlight is Paris Saint-Germain. It is PSG. The wheels are well and truly falling off. Christophe Gaultier is on a thin thread, and I think that the expectation is he will leave at the end of the season.
But not get sacked.
Because
in the same way that Pochettino was, I guess.
Yeah. And it all comes down to Mbappe FC, let's be honest. I think Mbappe has lost trust in Gaultier, which is a weird one when you consider he wanted Gaultier.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was part of the contract. Well, it's rumoured that part of the contract was, I will sign for PSG for 3 years if you sack Poch and bring in Christophe Gaultier.
Yeah.
And what you can't ignore for Christophe Gaultier is that Christophe Gaultier beat Poch in a league that's supposed to be a one-horse pony, a one-trick pony. It's supposed to be PSG. And then all of a sudden you've got, in the last 5 seasons, you've had Lille. You've had Lille beat them in the league. You've had Nantes beat them in the Coupe de France.
Yeah, you've had Rennes beat them in the Coupe de France as well.
Yep, you've had Rennes do it. Marseille done it this season, although they then lost to a National League side.
Yeah. Nancy, that's
it. But it's so...
You've had Lens come through as well.
Lens have come through, and the French league, as much as people say it's a farmers' league, it's just Messi and a bunch of little potato farmers, And it is somewhat true. There are some shit teams in the French league. Angers currently on 10 points
after 28 games, minus 42 goal difference,
despite having Soifan Boufal,
and Unai for the first half of the season,
like 2 players who went to a World Cup semi-final. But I think the issue that lies there just now is that Ligue 1 has picked up so much traction because of Messi, Neymar and Mbappe at PSG, that the league gets more traction, so the TV rights become better, so actually teams get more money now. Lens have just smashed it with like player development and player choice. There's so many good players now that are coming through Lens. Seko Fofana.
Yeah.
Luis Openda, who I am amazed was not in the Belgium squad. I am astounded he was not in a Belgium squad, because they chose Inter Tubby, but which is Lukaku, by the way. But just in case people didn't know who plays for Inter Milan and is a little bit tubby.
It doesn't know how to score goals, really.
Yeah, and then look at Luis Openda, who is like smashing them in for long.
Jonathan Klaus as well.
Jonathan Klaus is now at Marseille. There's just so much. There's talent coming out of that long team in the eyes, ears, and nose at this point. And it's the same with Marseille. Marseille are resurgent. Marseille have Alexis Sanchez, who is now reviving his career after a shit show at Man United and Inter Milan.
They also have, good players in Cengiz Under, Ruslan Malinovsky. They've got a good mix of kind of young players and basically Premier League rejects, and they've got
And you also can't write off AS Monaco as well.
yeah.
Obviously, Kamara, and I mean you can't ignore obviously Ben Yedder as well. Maybe some Ben Yedder, but
Mbolo's there as well.
and Mbolo's now there. Obviously, this league's very different now. Will still at Ram as well. Florian Balogun's just doing mental things. I was reading earlier in the news, he has now said that he's not sure if he will go back to Arsenal or not.
Yeah.
He may choose to leave at the end of this loan period.
Well, there's also a mix as well about he wasn't called up for England under 21s, and then he went off to Orlando for a holiday, even though he's now US eligible, and the US were playing in Orlando. So
I'd imagine he's going for a USA call up then. There, which is a big loss to England, I think, personally.
yeah.
And then obviously the other team we failed to mention is the team I'm going to talk about just now, Stade Rennais, who before the international break bet PSG 2-0. And who was in attendance at that game?
Kimi Kardashian.
Kim Kardashian.
Who was also in attendance for
Sporting Arsenal.
Sporting beating Arsenal on penalties at the Emirates.
So have we replaced the Aaron Ramsey curse with the Kim K curse? Like,
Kim K's not killing anyone. Surely this is
she's
the
killing.
Kanye curse.
She's killing the dreams of she's killing the dreams of Parisians and North Londoners who support a better team.
Wow. Okay. We'll get onto.
Sorry, Sam.
We'll get onto the other side of North London a bit later. Another shit.
But
show
yeah, I think the Kim K curse kind of struck in Paris. And this is the thing I was actually going to touch on with you. These are the rumoured managers now. Okay, these are two of the rumoured managers. Should Galtier walk at the end of the season? Zinedine Zidane, Antonio Conte is now in the running, and I'm going to touch on this other one. Christophe Galtier is rumoured for Spurs. Like this,
that was to be the most shit manager swap ever.
Conte for Galtier.
Like, yeah, Galtier did great things with Lille. I think he's more suited for a team that isn't in a shit show, that isn't run by egos, and I think Spurs are again a bit full of that, even though he probably shouldn't.
I honestly would probably agree with you. I think that's Galtier's problem. Galtier's problem is not Galtier. Galtier's problem is PSG.
Yeah.
When you look how good he was at Lille and Saint Etienne before, and Nice as well.
Yeah.
You know, he is a talented manager, and I mean one of those egos I want to touch on is Neymar.
Okay.
Your thoughts on Neymar? Because I think at this point he is a world-class player, but really dead weight at PSG. He's weighing the club down with the wages, and they need to move him on. The club want to move him on. He just won't budge.
I think he's still kind of haunted by the shadow of, okay, yeah, he hasn't done anything pretty much with Brazil. He's won a few couple of Americas, but Brazil, they want to win the World Cup. He hasn't done that yet. And I don't think he will. You also have the fact that he's still the record transfer fee of any player, and that was years ago now, but I think that still sort of weighs on him a bit. Yes, he's a fantastic player, but what's he going to do at PSG, a team that have constantly not won the thing that Neymar was brought in to do, and that's win the Champions League?
This is the other thing I want to touch on. Like, how many more times can PSG get dumped out of the Champions League at such a crucial point? Obviously, that loss to Bayern Munich, that was Messi's last dance in the Champions League. Messi went to PSG for the same reason that Neymar did. He thought that
more chance of winning
a Champions League. Messi came in, but I think the PSG's biggest problem at this point is there's no one else. And I mean, we witnessed it on their end game, like just before the international break. Marquinhos injured, Ramos injured. Okay, let's stick Juan Bernat and Danilo Pereira in there with Nuno Mendes and Achraf Hakimi. And that's probably another threat for them, is the fact that Achraf Hakimi is currently under surveillance by the police for some naughty boy things.
For fuck's sake, not another one.
Another one.
Why do we always have to get on sex crimes by football players. There's too many of this. Right?
At this point, we can build an 11. You know, like we could actually build an 11. I mean, how many have we touched on now in this podcast? We've touched on Mason Greenwood,
David Goodwillie,
David Goodwillie, Ashraf Hakimi,
and probably a lot more.
Probably a lot more. We've probably touched on Adam Johnson at some point at this point. Well, not touched on Adam Johnson. He tends to do that in the back of his Range Rover.
Stop it!
I did get a signed shirt out of it though, so that was okay.
For fuck's sake!
Right. To wrap this.
Let's talk about more crimes for a second. We're not going to wrap up just yet. Is that let's go from PSG, one shit show, to another shit show, and Tottenham Hotspur. So it was announced today that Fabio Paratici has now been banned by FIFA as well as the Italian FA for 30 months for his dealings with this whole Juventus money laundering thing that got them, was it 15 points deducted? He was involved in that heavily. He's now been banned by FIFA, still technically employed by Tottenham Hotspur. I haven't seen anything else about that. But you have the director of football banned from football. You have we have no manager at the moment, led by Conte's old assistant and Ryan Mason. And now, who's in charge of things at Tottenham? We're going to have Dan Levy do stuff, and we can't really trust him with whatever's going on. And now we need to find a manager. And the last time we had a manager search like this, we were left with Nuno Espirito Santo, which wasn't great. And now, what do we do now?
But look who you got after Nuno Espirito Santo.
Someone who hated being there and actively said that in a press conference, which was mental. He
said that in the Roma press conference, didn't he? He was like, he hated being at Spurs or something.
Yeah. He said that while still employed at the club. It's crazy. He's now been sacked. But, again, where do we go from here? Personally, I like the sound of Julian Nagelsmann, who was sacked by Bayern for some reason.
I don't know what the script behind that is. I really think the script behind that is that Thomas Tuchel wanted the job.
Yeah.
So I think it's a similar way to... I think it's a similar way to like how Poch left Bayern. I think it's just that the players don't like Nagelsmann.
Yeah.
And that for Bayern...
But the thing is with Nagelsmann as well, he's 35. He's probably the same age as some of those players. So
I think he's the same age as Thomas Müller. I think, in fact, I think Thomas Müller's probably older than him at this point. I don't know. Like, Thomas Müller is an old player, but I think the biggest issue now for not PSG, for Bayern, I think, was that I think he just lost the board.
Yeah.
And lost the team, and they seen that Thomas Tuchel needed a job. I think that Nagelsmann's biggest problem probably right now is the fact that he hasn't wrapped the league up yet, and normally at this point in the Bundesliga season, Bayern have already fucking won it.
But they're a point behind Dortmund, I think.
They're a point behind Dortmund, and I think it's just that inevitable fact that they could lose the league to Dortmund. They haven't been top for very long at any point this season. Obviously, you had that Union Berlin madness at the start of the season, and now I think for not only for Bayern but for a lot of teams in the Bundesliga, I think it just kind of seems inevitable now that Dortmund will probably win the Bundesliga. I can't see Bayern catching them, but
we'll see what Tuchel does with them.
I don't get why they would get rid of Nagelsmann when they're still in a title race.
They're still in the Champions League.
Still in the Champions
League.
League.
They've conceded, 2 goals in the Champions League? 3 goals in the Champions League this season? So, I don't know what's going on.
It's a weird one. Are they they're still in the Pokal as well, aren't they?
I think so, yeah.
I will check that one. Check that. But if they're still in the Pokal, then I don't understand any of it. Yeah, they are. They're playing Freiburg on a week on Tuesday. A week yesterday.
Yeah.
So...
And then look at the other teams today. You've got Leipzig playing Dortmund, so they're going to knock one of each other out. Frankfurt playing Union Berlin, again, one of those is going to knock the other one out.
So,
and Nuremberg versus Stuttgart. So
they could still do, obviously, Germany doesn't have a League Cup, but they could still do a treble.
Yeah.
They could still win the Champions League, the Bundesliga, and the Pokal. And it just seems like, from a Bayern perspective, we don't like him, so let's bring in Tuchel. And I don't really get bringing in Tuchel. I don't think Tuchel's that going to do much better than Nagelsmann, really.
Well, I guess that we'll have to wait for...
Also, that's a Judas move. Used to be the Dortmund manager and you go to Bayern.
PSG as well, when Bayern beat them in the Champions League final. But yeah, the other Spurs manager possibilities, you had Luis Enrique, who's been out of a job for a while after losing the Spain job. You have Ruben Amorim, who's doing good things with Sporting. You have Ange Postecoglou as well at Celtic, who I think is probably a good choice. And obviously the return of Poch is another possibility.
I mean, realistically, I would probably say out of all of them, with the exception of Nagelsmann, I think Nagelsmann's the best appointment.
Yeah.
Poch is the most Spursy of appointments.
I think it's...
Because you're currently in a situation where there is a handful of decent managers that you could pick and pull, that it would be so Spursy just to take Poch again.
Yeah, but...
But you don't want him. This is the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, why go back when Poch didn't do what you want to do anyway? Poch has not won Poch never won a domestic trophy for you. Poch got you a Champions League final, which you inevitably lost to Liverpool, and that's the furthest you ever went. With Poch. Obviously, consistent European qualification, Champions League qualification was good under Poch, but I would put Poch personally at this point as your DOF.
Yeah, I like the sound a lot. I like the sound of maybe a Poch DOF and
Poch DOF, and then
because obviously we need to know replace Paratici, but
no, I think the issue is if you bring in Poch, I think he's going to want a lot of money to be DOF though.
Yeah,
and I don't think that would leave you enough money for like a big coach. So you would probably at that point take Postecoglou. So I would, which
I think is a really smart move. Obviously, we haven't got Andy here to kind of say, "Oh, don't take our Ange," but. No,
he will be back though, ladies and gentlemen. He will be back.
That's kind of like a Marvel post-credit scene. He's bringing back Andy.
Done.
But yeah, Postecoglou would be a fantastic appointment. He's done great things for Celtic. Plays some fantastic football.
I mean, can you imagine Kyogo in a Spurs shirt? Because surely if he leaves, then he's going to take all his Japanese guys with him as well.
We'll bring a couple of them, I think. I think Hatate might be a good choice, a good kind of pick up for that midfield.
Dazimieda's probably a good backup as well.
Yeah.
But I'm going to touch on something actually, because I forgot to say it with Spurs. Son came out today saying that he feels guilty for Conte getting sacked as well. And I want to know your thoughts on Son, because for me, obviously, I like Son, as a player, but
he's had
had a shit season.
He's had a poor season. He didn't score until November, I think.
Which is a Richarlison term. He's had a shit season, you know. And that's the other thing as well. Okay, I rated Spurs really highly with that transfer window at. The August transfer window, summer transfer window, Richarlison, Yves Bissouma.
But how many games has Bissouma played?
How many games has Richarlison played as well?
Yeah. How many games has Danjuma played? We signed in January.
Danjuma, Spence just gets punted out on loan to Rennes.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so many other examples as well. Who else have you brought in? The only players that really play were the players that Conte wanted, and you have to wonder.
In January, we brought in
Kulusevski and Bentancur, who played, but where did Conte say I want Richarlison? Because clearly he never wanted Richarlison or Bissouma, because Richarlison and Bissouma have never played.
We brought in Perisic, which was a good signing. He's been a bit. On the time, it was a good signing. He hasn't really played that well. Forster was a good pickup, I'd say. But yeah, Bissouma has barely played. Richarlison's barely started. Longley has played when we've had no centre-backs left. As you said, Jude Spence has been punted out on loan to Rennes. Doji we picked up as well in the January, but he spent on loan all season on loan at Udinese. And then Danjuma's barely played. And Paul's been brought in as well in the January. But yeah, it's like you sign all these players, but what does it result in? We signed 2 players in January. We should have signed 3 or 4.
And I think you knew after Southampton that Conte had enough.
Yeah.
Like, Conte has done the equivalent of the Ronaldo Piers Morgan interview.
Yeah.
Like, Ronaldo didn't do that interview because he wanted to do the interview. He done the interview because he wanted to leave Man United.
Yeah.
In the same way that Conte's had a total meltdown in front of numerous media outlets because he wants to leave Spurs.
Exactly, yeah.
And there's just, for me anyway, I just think that you've lost arguably a very good manager, but there's other ways forward for you.
Yeah,
and they are probably under Nagelsmann or Poch.
There was a lot of debate about kind of the negative football we played, kind of in the back half of Mourinho leading into Conte as well. Yes, we have some great attacking players, but since that game that Mourinho played where we were 3-0 up against West Ham until like the 87th minute and ended up drawing 3-3, the same thing happened against Southampton under Conte. It was just these players, they haven't been able to hold on to a lead for a lead like that. You haven't felt safe with a lead like that for a long time. Playing negative football, sitting back and you're kind of expecting them to come at you. With the defenders we have, we're going to concede goals doing that. So we need to get back to playing, front foot attacking football, and the defending does it from there.
Right. Well, we shall bring it closer to home now as well and talk a little bit about this weekend, because it is time for everyone's favourite or least favourite section of the False 90s podcast. It is the False 90s predictions.
Oh yeah, I have no idea what the Premiership game is. Oh yes, I do know one of them.
I'll start you off nice and easy. On Saturday at 3 o'clock, because we're both going to this game.
Separate ends.
Separate ends, yes. So one of us will laugh, one of us will cry, or both of us will probably swear about the whole game. But 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday in the Scottish Premiership is Hibs versus Motherwell.
See, Hibs have had a decent few weeks. Obviously, the Rangers and Celtic results weren't great. Celtic was still a good performance, but we'll still be missing Eli Johan for this game, which is a miss. But we've still got some, good players there as well. I think this one's going to be tough to call. I mean, Motherwell, they're starting to turn it around a bit, so I would say it's going to be a tight game. I'm going to say 3-2 Hibs.
I'm going to go for 2-2 draw. And the reason I think this is because we're both scoring on both cylinders. Like, we're really firing forward.
Yeah.
Hibs have turned into the Kevin Nisbet show in recent weeks.
I mean,
and
it's not just been him. We've had a lot of good performances from Josh Campbell.
Motherwell's turning into the Kevin Van Veen show again, which, I mean,
isn't he like the third highest top scorer, highest Dutch top scorer in Europe so far?
It's something mad like that. As he now gets affectionately called in Motherwell the Budget Bergkamp. But I just feel that our defences are both too shaky.
Yeah.
I think since Porto went to Watford for you guys, there's not been a lot of organisation at the back for you.
I think we've sort of sorted this out now. Now we've got Hanlon and Fish is kind of like the certain back two now, but in terms of like the fullbacks, who do we choose? Are we going with Stevenson? Are we going with Cabrera? Are we going for Miller? Are we going for who's the other right back? We go for Cadden, are we going for Egan Riley, kind of thing. So yeah, I think in terms of the back two, I think the centre and half pairing, I think we're pretty much sorted now. But yeah, the fullbacks are, I think, where the problem comes from. So yeah, I think it's going to be high scoring. I think it will be a tight game.
But you're going with a Hibs win.
I'm going with a Hibs win.
I never bet on Motherwell, so I will take the Motherwell draw. 2-2 draw. Going to say Van Veen gets one. I'm going to say that Johnson gets the other one as well.
Okay.
Not that we predict scorers, but that's just what I'm thinking. Your other 3 o'clock kickoffs on Saturday. I will start with St Johnstone Aberdeen. Now, Aberdeen's manager has just been confirmed permanently and won Manager of the Month. Is this now the start of the new managerial bounce? Because it clearly didn't happen to Dundee United when they got Aberdeen's old manager.
But then again, is this the case of the Manager of the Month curse, where it happens in most leagues where the Manager of the Month is confirmed and then you just lose it the next 2 games kind of thing. So, but then again, St Johnstone haven't won in a while, so...
I'm gonna come in straight away and say 2-0 Aberdeen in this one.
Yeah,
a 2-0 win, a nice comfortable one. Keep that managerial form going, but I can't see St Johnstone doing much.
No, I haven't seen them doing much for a while. But Aberdeen, they beat Hearts 3-0 last time around. They're building a good team. They're building that good partnership between Miofsky and Duke. Yeah. I think probably I'm probably going to go with 3-0 Aberdeen, I think.
Your next one is St Mirren against Livingston in Paisley. Another 3 o'clock kick-off there. Obviously, anything I say on a Saturday is going to be a 3 o'clock kick-off. This is the Scottish Premiership.
Yeah.
I'm
it's
going to...
6th against 7th.
It is. It's a real mid-table clash. I'm going to put it as a 1-1. Because I cannot see one of those teams pipping the other.
Yeah.
I think St Mirren just now are really good under Robinson. I never thought I'd say that in my life.
But they did draw with Dundee United last time around, so...
They did, but then that's just the the Northern Irish brotherhood there between Stephen Robinson and Jim Goodwin. I've totally forgot his name there for a minute. But no, I can't see one pip in the other here. Martindale's doing well, Robinson's doing well. 1-1 Livingston, St Mirren.
I think I'm going to go with a 0-0. I don't know why I don't see any goals. It's just one mid-table clash. It's a 3 o'clock on a Saturday. Nobody's going to care about that one, really.
And your last Saturday game is...
Two on Saturday. You've got Killy Hearts.
Oh, sorry, I forgot that was on the Sunday. Yep, so your next game is Kilmarnock against the car rental specialists, Hertz. I think it's an easy one, really. I know it's at Rugby Park, but I think it is pretty predictable, isn't it? 1-0 Hearts.
I've only won one game in March, but to be fair, they played Celtic twice. Lost 3 to Aberdeen. They want to bounce back. Yeah, probably go with a tight one. I think they're going to be still. They need it's international break to get back. I don't see Kelly winning. I'm probably going about 1-2-0. I think Hearts. Yeah.
Doing 2-0.
Yeah.
Say 1-0 for that one. And your last game on the 1st of April is Rangers at Ibrox against Dundee United.
Oh, this is going to be a massacre, isn't it?
4-0.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. 4-0 just straight off the bat.
5, yeah, because...
Leaving your last game then to predict in the Scottish Premiership as being Celtic against Ross County, which is probably another massacre, let's be honest.
Although it is at Dingwall, so...
Still going to say 2-0 Celtic, to be honest.
Yeah.
So 3-0.
I think it's going to be one of those ones where Celtic, they have about 1 million chances. They can't put anything away. Ross County will keep 11 men behind the ball. But...
Or it is at Dingwall, so I might say a 3-1. Maybe Eamon Brophy gets a goal, something like that.
I think we could go with 2-1 Celtic, I think.
I'm going to say 3-1 Celtic. Yeah. That one, actually.
But now we are branching out. We are doing more than just Scotland, so I'm going to throw in a game for this weekend as well. We'll do one from each of the top 5, I think.
Yep, I'll get this one going for you then. I think we have to start with the important clash, the 7:45 kick-off in League One on Sunday.
Okay.
Between PSG and Lyon.
Ooh, okay. So
or
Or
we can do the top of the table clash between Rennes and Lens on the Saturday.
ooh,
Now,
we could do both.
we can do both. This is
Yeah,
true.
there's no rules to this. We're just going to do both.
Just for anyone that doesn't know, I have a soft spot for Lens at this point. Now, I'll put things into perspective. Lens currently lie on third place with 57 points. Rennes are in fifth on 50 points. It is in Rennes though.
Yeah.
It is not in Lens. And I think that Lens have turned their stadium into an absolute fortress this season.
Yeah, so
And the away form's not been as positive.
Yeah.
Whereas Rennes are the opposite. Rennes turn away form well, but don't do good at home.
Yeah. Yeah, their last game they lost. Last home game they lost 1-0 to Marseille.
In a realistic scenario here, are Rennes going to have that same bounce that they had that beat PSG 2-0 as we touched on the podcast?
The thing is, I think this result is that the PSG win and then they had the international break. You want to have another game straight after that to build on that momentum. You have this international break, it breaks that momentum as well. Especially now that you said they're not as good at home.
I'm going to say 2-0 Lens. That's what I'm going to go.
I think we'll go with 2-1. 2-1. Actually, no. I think we're going to change that. 1-1. I'm going to go with 1-1.
PSG Lyon. Now, Lyon are 10th currently.
Yeah, they're
PSG are top of the league. But I can't negate that Mbappe's just come back from international break. Messi is coming back from international break. Neymar is
out.
Kimpembe's
out.
Ramos out. Marquinhos is out.
Hakimi's out.
Is Hakimi now out as well?
Hakimi picked up an injury in the international break, I think. Yeah.
Oh, for God's! Oh, yeah, so he did. It was against Brazil in the friendly.
Yeah.
In Tangier. Which basically means that it's an injury crisis that Lyon can capitalise on.
Well, the thing is, Lyon, two of their players are out as well. Anthony Lopez is out, their goalkeeper, and Malagusto's out as well. So,
I mean, they still have Lacazette.
Yes, they still have
Tagliafico. There's still good players in that long squad. Houssem Aouar, who you can't ignore as well.
Tolisso.
And of course, this one's for Andy. If Moussa Dembele is at Lyon as well, the former Celtic striker. For that reason, given PSG's injury crisis, I'm going to say 1-0 Lyon.
Ooh. Again, I think PSG will slip up here, but I'm going to go with the 1-1.
A 1-1. Okay, I'll let you pick the next league then, Sam.
Let's go to the Premier League.
Do.
And a Saturday 12:30 kickoff. You can't really say no to this. Manchester City against Liverpool.
This is a crucial one for you, isn't it? Because if City win this, it keeps the title race open.
Yeah.
Liverpool beat City, Arsenal's won the league, mate. I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm sitting here with a mid-table team, so I don't really give much of a fuck about it. But
relegation threatened team.
Fuck off. Okay, look, Brendan Rodgers is here for 10 points in a row at this point, 10 wins in a row, you know, it's not going to happen. But anyway, let's not talk about Leicester, let's talk about Liverpool and Man City.
So
I am going to throw a spanner in the works here. I'm going to say that Liverpool do it.
So I think City will have Haaland out. Foden's meant to be out as well. Liverpool have Darwin Núñez out. They have Tsimikas out. They have Diaz still out.
No, they don't have Darwin Núñez out. It's just he has to go and pick up all the balls that he's sent out of Anfield like before he got onto his purple patch. So he's going to be there for like 4 weeks. He's not injured. It's just he has to go and Jurgen sent him out to pick up all his
but Setic is still out. Thiago's still out. So
I'm still going to say 2-0 Liverpool.
I do think Liverpool do it here. I mean, City still have Julian Alvarez. They still have a lot of good players going forward.
Yeah, Mahrez as well.
So
it's not an easy one. Like I think the thing with City is Foden's not there. they can bring in Mahrez,
Yeah.
or they can bring in
Jack Grealish.
Jack Grealish as well.
Jack Grealish.
Let's not turn this into the Snapshot Eye podcast. But yes, he is my he is my boo. No.
But yeah, Liverpool, they're starting to turn things around. Cody Gakpo's been firing. They've still got Salah. Yeah.
2-0. 2-0 seems like the most realistic thing here.
2-1, I'd say Liverpool. It is at the Etihad, but yeah, I think Liverpool.
It's really hurt. It really hurts you to say that, doesn't it?
I just hope Leeds do something against Arsenal, please. Leeds.
What's your next Premier League one then?
I actually want to jump across to La Liga.
La Liga.
Where we have there's two actually I want to do from La Liga. You have a spicy game at 8 p.m. on Sunday between Atletico Madrid, who are third, and Real Betis, who are fifth.
At the Metropolitano.
In
that case, then I'm going to say 2-1 Atletico Madrid. I think Atletico Madrid are better at home. Had it been in Sevilla, at Betis, I would have said Betis. But
so Betis, obviously the past 5 games they've played Manchester United in Europa League, so I can't really pull anything from that. But they had a 0-0 draw at home to Real Madrid. Atleti have won 4 of their last 5 games, including beating Sevilla 6-1 at home. But I do think Betis can do something here. I'm going to go with 1-1. And the other one from La Liga I want to bring up is 8 p.m. on Monday between 8th place Rayo Vallecano and 18th placed Valencia. It's Valencia at home, but they are very much relegation threatened. They have beaten Osasuna, they have beaten Real Sociedad recently, but those are there. And they beat Sporting Gijón in the Copa del Rey, but those are their only wins of 2023.
The Gattuso effect. I think, you know what, I'm going to say that this is the point that Rayo Vallecano have a banana skin.
Yeah, so
Rayo... I'm going to say 1-0 Valencia.
So Rayo won the reverse fixture 2-1, and they've had a good team, Rayo. So
they do. They still got Falcao.
I think they do, yeah.
But I just personally think it's going to be a banana skin moment for them, and I will say that
they're chasing that, that Conference League space. You're going for a Valencia win, so they'll fight in relegation. I think this will be a Rayo win. I think 1-0 Rayo.
Right, I shall pull you across to Germany because on the 1st of April at 5:30,
I've just seen that one as well.
It is Der Klassiker. It is Bayern versus Dortmund, and it is Thomas Tuchel's first game in charge of his new side.
Ooh.
Your thoughts on this one, please, Samuel? It is in Munich.
It is in Munich.
It's at the Allianz, but I still, personally...
You think?
I think a Dortmund win. I think a 3-1 Dortmund win.
This will be. I think this is a tough one to call. I think Bayern will still be working out on what they're doing under Tuchel. There was reports today that Tuchel's really likes Serge Gnabry, but when he likes the players, he does tend to turn them into wing backs. So I don't know.
Serge Gnabry at right wing back sounds fucking awful.
But with Alphonso Davies on the left. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, at least Fonzie's trained to defend. Yeah. Gnabry is trained to go forward and score.
Yeah.
I'm having flashbacks now to the team of the season Gnabry card from FIFA 20 when he was Hoffenheim, had 99 pace and just played striker and it was broken. But it's I
think with Bayern they have they've struggled all season with that not having a proper striker. They haven't properly replaced Lewandowski except with Lewandowski. They haven't properly replaced him. Yes, they've played with what's his name? Choupo-Moting. Yeah, but he's not as good as Lewandowski. They've got.
I'm really glad you did not compare Robert Lewandowski to Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, a man who's played for Bayern and Barcelona to a man who's played for Stoke. Let's just drill that in, yeah. Like Choupo-Moting, Stoke, PSG, Bayern.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah. Dortmund, they beat Cologne 6-1 before the international break. They have a fantastic front three of Marlon, Allaire, Royce. They've also got
Kareem the Dream
Adeyemi. They've also got Yusuf Makuku,
Julian Brandt,
Anthony Modeste. You know what? I'm going to see Jude Bellingham as well. Yeah, I do see. I can see Dortmund winning this. I'm going to go with. I'm going to go 3-2 Dortmund.
Ooh, so you're saying 3-2. I'm saying 3-1.
3-1.
Right, the last league that we have to cover is the Baba de Boopie League. And the one I'm going to use in this one to draw your attention to is first versus fourth.
Ooh,
Napoli versus AC Milan at the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona in Napoli on
Sunday
7:45.
And as well, these two teams will face off in the Champions League later in the month.
So it's a good prelude, but
yeah.
I mean, there's realistically only one way that this is going. I think that there is 10 games left in the Serie A. My prediction is that Napoli have won the Scudetto within the next 5 games.
Yes, and also I'd put onto that, if they have the league wrapped up, they're going to go for the Champions League.
I wouldn't put it past them to win the Champions League. Although, straight away, I'm going to say Napoli 3, AC Milan 0. Osimhen hat-trick. Or 2 from Osimhen brace. And Diego Maradona.
See, before the international break, Milan lost 3-1 to Udinese. So, Napoli beat Torino 4-0. So,
I think this is a problem with AC Milan. AC Milan are a bit like Bayern are just now. They don't have an out-and-out striker. They have Giroud, but Giroud's not.
Getting old.
Yeah, Giroud's.
And then they've got an even older striker.
Zlatan.
Who's,
And Rafael Leao's better suited to play in the wing than he is as a striker.
Diaz as well, yeah.
Brahim Diaz as well. So, realistically, the only way that AC Milan get better is by signing an out-and-out striker.
Yeah.
Which they just can't seem to find. I mean, I like Giroud, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I mean, the man has the pace of a snail, he's not the quickest. And
kind of behind.
Yeah, Ibra can finish anything, but he is 41. So
yeah, I think I'm going to go with a Napoli win as well. I'm going to go with 4-1 actually. I think they're going to go all out. I think it'll be a brace from both Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen, and I reckon Lozano will get a few assists as well.
The win probability, according to OneFootball, is 54% for Napoli as well.
Yeah, so
no affiliation, no sponsor, by the way. But right, the last one then from Serie A, I will let you take.
Ooh.
But I'm going to. I feel like I know what one you're going to go with.
Are you thinking I'm going to go for Inter Fiorentina?
Yeah.
I am going to go for Inter Fiorentina. Now, Inter...
Which is 3rd and 9th.
Yes, but their injury list is Bastoni, Dzeko, Kalanogu, Skriniar, Barella, Gorsens and D'Ambrosio suspended. So again, this could be a little bit of a banana skin for them.
And I can tell you a man that is firing on all cylinders still for Fiorentina, Luka Jovic.
Yes.
Has been playing really, really well for them as well. Aysel Ayduni's still there as well. Not Aysel Ayduni, Amrabat.
Yeah.
Aysel Ayduni's at Union Berlin, Lewis. Ferencváros on the brain there, but Amrabat's still there.
Yeah, and Fiorentina haven't lost since a 1-0 loss to Juventus on the 12th of February.
1-0 Fiorentina, I think, would be my honest prediction.
I think
I agree with you that it's going to be a banana skin.
Yeah, I think 2-1 Fiorentina. Inter will have a big game in the Coppa Italia on Tuesday as well, so they might want to go for that instead. They've got Juve and that. Obviously, look at their Champions League time with Benfica coming up as well. Yeah, I think with their amount of injuries, with players coming back from international break, I think Fiorentina will have this sorted a lot more. I'm going to go with 2-1 Fiorentina. And
with that,
we say with La Viola, we also say au revoir.
Oh,
I said it now. That was a shit joke.
How do we sum this up? 3 against Cyprus, 2 in this room. Only one place to get your podcast. That is False 90s. Thank you very much. We'll see you again next week. Hopefully accompanied by Celtic Andy himself. Yep, you've heard of Chelsea Rory. We have Celtic Andy. Take care. Goodbye.
The False 90s podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Podbean, and our website at false90s.wordpress.com. For updates, follow False 90s on both Twitter and Instagram. And a big thank you to Fransisco Aluear and his track Space Game, which is our theme tune. I want that man's agent.
I want that man's agent. At that point, we'd be in the Spotify studio doing this fucking podcast, man.
Except we're in a fucking study room.
We're in a study room with someone doing like code on the board. What looks like fucking they're trying to code like Facebook to log in or some shit. And like we are, if we had Triple Moting's agent, mate, we at this point we'd have a studio. We'd be like bigger than the Joe Rogan Experience.